Hello, sweet digital founders. Eurogamer reported that a Sony-backed DMC takedown, Sony-backed DMCA takedown emitter struck down the Bloodborne PSX remake by Lilith Walther, which had a very nice no-clip documentary and a 60 FPS Bloodborne patch by Lance McDonald. Such a hit was observed with a Nintendo-backed one which struck down any mod having Zelda in its title before announcing the new Zelda game. Do you have hope for a PC port/remake announcement this year, or is this really just IP protection to keep a trademark? I have to say the wonderful progress of Shad PS4 has somewhat scratched that itch for me. I feel like Sony missed the opportunity by waiting so long to sign a new partnership with From to make something with this dormant game. Socially distanced hugs and happy 200th exclamation point. I've got to apologize for my reading of that question, but there's so many copyright symbols and trademarks added that it actually made passing it quite difficult. But yes, Lance McDonald's 60 FPS patch for Bloodborne, which only ran on debug or rather hacked PlayStation consoles, has been struck down by the quote-unquote DMC takedown emitter. And it's been available for years. Kind of suggests, perhaps, that Sony is planning something, but at the same time, perhaps the limited availability or application of that patch, owing to the fact that you could only run it on, hacked PlayStation hardware or debug hardware, may have just meant that it didn't, even make Sony's attention. Whereas if you've got millions of PCs able to run Bloodborne at 60 frames per second, that might be a bit more of a problem. But Oliver, this Bloodborne PSX demake stuff, it's looking a bit heavy-handed, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it does look heavy-handed, unfortunately. Those were some really interesting projects, like the Bloodborne cart and Bloodborne demake and all that stuff. There were very compelling projects there, but I tend to think that this could just be the normal IP protection where you need to take action on some titles to preserve your trademarks. But it is coming up on the game's 10th anniversary. That is coming up in March of this year, scarily enough. And there is a state of play allegedly penciled in for sometime this month, I believe. People are stating that. That's in the rumor mill at the moment. So if there was an announcement of that state of play for like a March release, this is kind of hopium, but that would be fairly triumphant, I think. You could imagine Bluepoint at the helm. In their time between working on a God of War live service game, perhaps they managed to put some time in on a Bloodborne 60 FPS version for PS5 and maybe PC with Nixies if they're not too busy putting out a million fires. They're obviously worked very hard as it is. Who knows? Yeah. Who knows? But it would be very appealing. I think there is an enormous amount of enthusiasm, probably more than I've ever seen for any other hypothetical remake or port for Bloodborne on PS5 and possibly PC as well. I'd love to see it. I think Sony would be well positioned to deliver it. I think they have the studios to do it. It's just a question of, I guess, why not at this point? Because it seems like such an easy win for them, and it's been like that for years and years now. So hopefully they do get around to it. I'd have to imagine. Hopefully they do.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about this, Alex? I think from my perspective, even if they have got these new projects in the works, the concept of striking down these existing things doesn't really make sense to me. Maybe it does from a corporate perspective, though.
Yeah, I mean, Oliver said it like this is to just defend the trademark's existence in the first place, that you have to defend it to keep it kind of thing. But from a reality perspective of like, does this actually affect the potential of anyone buying the real Bloodborne or a potential sequel? No, of course it doesn't. The go-kart game, the PSX remake, does not stop someone from buying Bloodborne 1 or Bloodborne 2. The person that actually is responsible for that is Sony, right? But it could be that. It could also because, massive internal fires there at Sony regarding their internal portfolio of projects, and maybe something was greenlit more recently, like there's a box or a breakable casket or something like that, where it said like, if Sony's on fire, Bloodborne, And they broke that open because they've had all these Concords and God of War, games as a service things exploding. Maybe that's what happened. I have no idea, though. I have no insight in this.
I was just looking back to the thumbnail I did for Tom's Bloodborne Shad PS4, and the text is pretty straightforward. Can PC emulation deliver the Bloodborne remaster Sony can't? And the answer is like, kind of yes. Yeah, and something's kind of got to be done about that, I think. But the extent to which it actually cancels or challenges anything they might be doing, I've got to sort of raise questions about.